Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the AAA Show. I'm your host, Jared Down, as always. Changing things up a little bit this week. We're not going to dive too much into the commitments. We've got a special guest coming on next week. We're going to talk about the 06 commitments in Saskatchewan Hockey League, or the Saskatchewan AAA League next week, and we'll dive a little more into commitments across the other leagues next week. But I got Trevor Lakness here of TS Hockey Training joining me here shortly, so we'll get to that. Trevor, how's it going? Thanks for joining me today.
Oh, I'm doing good. The weather's not the best. We got quite a bit of snow here in Regina, so I got to get the shoveling after this interview here.
I hear that I was on the way into the office here to shoot the episode, and we don't have any snow here down in Gull Lake. It's tried a little bit, but we've been pretty lucky. I hear the highways are closed east of Regina, so it sounds like you guys are getting quite the storm.
Yeah, between snow and COVID, what next?
Exactly. So I guess we'll just dive right into it. Trevor, you're co-owner of TS Hockey Training. You want to just kind of tell me a little bit about the company and what you guys do?
Well, I've been training hockey players for 15 years. This is my 15th year in southern Saskatchewan. And I worked at a hockey training center. Then after I got out of that, I got into kind of some coaching around southern Saskatchewan, Bantam AA, helped out with Pat Canadians, some senior hockey. And then I was always kind of working for agents, working with some pro guys and some Team Canada girls and some higher end Bantam AAA kids. But I kind of got away with working with a lot of the young kids under 13. And then when COVID hit, Shea Hiroko, who's the S in TS Hockey, he was a kid I used to train 15 years ago, back when he was a 13, 14-year-old kid. And he was a high-end prospect, NHL draft prospect potentially, and he battled some injuries in Swift Current WHL. And since his recovery, he got into personal training. So when COVID hit the world there, we were doing Zooms workouts, and he asked me, he said, hey, can you do some stick handling, some shooting lessons on Zoom? He's got a group of Regina area kids. And I said, yeah, sure. It was great for us to get back together. And he would do the workout and I would do the skills. And then we had a guy that had nothing he was a big Instagram guy. He had nothing to do. So he said, I love hockey. I want to grow that page. And within 1 week, next thing you know, we're training kids on our Zoom from all over North America, lots in Canada, Eastern Canada. And then all of a sudden we get a call from Iran national hockey team wanted some Zoom classes. So after that, we've been doing a ton of Zoom. And since then, Shay's opened up a center in Regina here, which we got a shooting lane in there. So I've been doing a ton of one-on-one, working with a lot of teams throughout the winter, some shooting camps, skill. And the third component to our business, I guess, is we do a lot of I guess you call it in-game analysis. I have to be careful because I get in trouble from coaches once in a while where we'll get video or go to a game. And we work with everybody from Western Hockey League guys to AAA down to Bantam AA. They send us their video and we send them a game analysis. Now that game analysis doesn't affect the coach's system at all. Like in the WHL AAA, that a lot of your viewers, they're put into a system, but not necessarily they're taught how to win draws, how to, cut in properly to get that shot in on this 3-on-2 design. So we work with skill-oriented only, never affecting a coach's system. And the Zoom thing keeps going. A lot of provinces had shutdowns, so we took on a lot of teams. But I see a market for that even after. I mean, most of us never want to do a Zoom meeting after the world gets normal again. But we found a market with a lot of big cities where there's kids driving an hour and a half for a practice, and they got a little rink set up in their house. Their mom and dad spent tens of thousands of dollars on. So I think there will always be a market for the one-on-one skill over Zoom.
How was the overall initial adaptation to the whole COVID world? I know, like you mentioned, it's something you guys weren't normally used to doing these training sessions over Zoom. But how was the initial shock of that for you guys?
Well, it was shock. We thought, we're just going to do some Regina, Southern Saskatchewan kids for the time being until they get sick of Zoom. But, the workouts were good. And then we did a weekly show. We got a group of every Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do a weekly show. We got a big group set up, and, it's especially the -40, to wake up, this year you have to get dressed before you went to the rink, to drive, to come back. These kids would get up out of bed straight to their little workout or skills area, and they could go back to bed or have breakfast and go to school after. So I think kids almost be liking it, right? There's always some kids that weren't the biggest fans of it that grew up want the rink. But, a lot of people have a nice little workout area in their home or a little rink set up, shooting area set up. So works out great for those kids.
Have kids found it a little tougher to learn over Zoom? You can watch and all that, but has the translation been a little difficult, or has it gone pretty smoothly?
Well, no, that's good. We got a big TV set up. They put up with it. They keep coming back. So one thing about Zoom is that I like is the live aspect of it. So I know a lot of, I don't badmouth anybody. A lot of other hockey companies out there have like maybe YouTube workouts or film workouts. Well, for example, if I put that YouTube workout on my kid and go upstairs, I know he might not be doing it properly for correction or not doing it at all. I'll admit there's some kids that got pretty sneaky. They learned how to cover the mic or shut the mic or the camera off or cover the camera up. So we don't always know what's going on. But for the majority of it, even first timers that when we take on a team from Alberta, Ontario, they seem to, give her on it, and good feedback from the parents and coaches. So we keep pushing. Yeah.
I want to kind of go back to the Iran national team. What has that whole experience been like working with them?
It was, of all the things I've done in hockey over 15 years of skills and the how blessed I have been to work with some high-end people, that's probably one of my highlights in my hockey life. They are hockey nuts over there. They're following the game hard. They're real eager. So their story is, and if your viewers go check it out on Instagram or the internet, just type in Iran Icebox. They got a rink. We've all been to West Edmonton Mall as kids and seen that rink. That rink is like a palace compared to West Edmonton Mall. It's in a mall. They got a TV screen from goal line to goal line. And the rollerblading was a big thing there. And then they got this expansion of the mall, and they started doing ice hockey. And the men's team, they're giving her, a lot of them come from rollerblade. They got into the IIHF, so they'll be in the lower divisions. They like against the other Japans. They won rollerblading world championships in the division they were in, more of the Middle East. That part of the world. They're eager. They want to learn. They are the nicest. We see all the stuff on the news about the stress and they are the nicest people, most thankful people we dealt with. So good to work with. The men's team, they're a little bit older. I would say the average age is probably the 23 to 30, but the women's teams, some of the skills really good, and they're creating programs to hopefully one day bring some of these people into Division I colleges in the States. They got a lot of American connections, these people, and they got to keep working hard. And there's like 90 million people that live in Iran. I forget, it's like 45-50 million people just live around Tehran. So if even a small percentage of people take up the game of hockey, it'll be huge. I just predict it's a hockey hotbed with how many people are taking the game up there. Obviously, it'll never beat soccer over there, but it's amazing. And they know you know, they asked me, "Oh, you be in Canada? Do you know who Pavel Barber is and Austin Matthews is?" Like they're paying attention to the same stuff we are. It's incredible.
Yeah, for that's amazing to hear. From them being from a non-hockey market, obviously. How is how do you guys have to adapt your teaching styles to kind of tailor what they're trying to learn? Was there any like difficulties that way or learning curves?
No, we were doing, you know, not we were doing more, you know, basic stick handling, puck control, because they're using balls. So when you're used to using a ball your whole life from rollerblading or whatever puck they were using, it's different. You know, more hockey stance. They haven't had the power skating. The ones with more money have had the great opportunity of going to Germany and taking up power skating skills from Germany, former professional Germany players. But the biggest problem was probably I had to, you know, when you're teaching, your words get cut in half because only half the team can speak English. So when I would say bend the knees, if we were doing a hockey stance thing, bend the knees or roll the wrists more, I had to stop and let the translator explain it. And then I'm not the best with names and pronunciation to start with, and some of their names aren't your typical Matthews and Mikes and all that. So I had to ask that everybody just put their number down. So then I was calling out 55, 23, 21, you know. But no, we had a really good translator, so he was able to really understand us. And when you get coached, you get excited, and he was able to keep things calm and keep it going. So it was good.
Was there any things that they caught on fairly quickly that you're kind of shocked about?
Well, the work ethic's there. I was really impressed with the women's, how the stick handling came really far in the shooting basics. They really picked up quick. I was really impressed with the women, how good of stick handlers they can, and the improvement from the men. I was really impressed with over many sessions there to, you know, calm down, you know, and it's just the basic things. As you think in Canada, even 20 years ago, back when I played minor hockey, nobody ever taught me how to shoot or stick handle, and now that's just a common thing in Canada. And so they're playing hockey without any, their head coach and GM, he's just more passionate about hockey, but he's creating programs. He's, you know, he's got a 10-year plan, and hopefully someday, you know, they make an IHF B or C challenge, right? Like it's small steps, and, you know, hope, and then their goal is hopefully in 100 years, 50 years, they're right with the Americans and Canada and the rest of the world.
Well, that's the crazy thing, though, right? You get these smaller not smaller, I guess, non-traditional hockey markets that have such a high population that once the game catches on, like look out, us Canadians are going to be a little worried with the kind of competition that those bigger populated centers can bring. And you look at the Americans, how quickly they've caught up the past couple of years. It's kind of crazy to think an area like Iran, if hockey ever caught on there, look out.
Yeah, and again, I just said I'm bad with names, but what's his name off the Rangers? 93, what's his name?
Was it Benajad?
Yes, so his mom is Iranian, and he moved to Sweden. I don't know the whole story. I've kind of caught bits and parts of it, but the family moved to Sweden when he was a young age, and he played Sweden World Juniors. So he's like the Gretzky over there, you know, so it's not that it's impossible to be from Iran and make the NHL or Iran connections. So, you know, all you need is one person to kind of inspire a whole group, right? And that's him for over there.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. And I would imagine with him, even if he wasn't doing as well as he is, he would still be a god over there. But with him taking off, I'm sure that's really helping the interest in the market there.
Yeah. Oh, and it's also picking up. So a lot of these people have New York connections, and there's one of the biggest Iranian populations in North America is in New York. So, I mean, he's got a new fan base over there. So any of these little things to grow the game worldwide is great for everybody. You know, it's even the World Juniors. It was fun when Canada was the favorites and they walked through beating everybody 8-1 in the World Juniors. But it's exciting now. All hockey now even take the World Juniors, there's 4 to 5 teams that have a shot of winning gold medal now. And as the game keeps growing, that's good for everybody.
Yeah, and I always love about the World Juniors is you see those teams like the Belarus or the Kazakhstans that, you know, they're typically battling to stay in without getting relegated, and just seeing the passion in those games. And I can't remember what team it was a couple of years ago that they won their first ever Division I game, and seeing the celebrations after, and how awesome it is to, you know, we're lucky to always have a team that's always competing for gold, but sometimes we forget about the small things like that, you know, some teams just want that one win. They just want to be there. They're happy to be there, right? So, or being in a tight game. So it's awesome to see stuff like that. With Iran, is it mainly just dry land stuff right now?
Yeah, dry land, and we actually caught them when they were having COVID. That's how they linked up with us. They just typed in Zoom training on Instagram, and they found us. So it was just us. It would be a great. They keep saying you got to get over here. You got to get over here. There is going to be opportunity once the world gets normal again. They want us there, so you never know what could happen. So I think that would be just unbelievable to go there someday. So we'll hopefully there, but we'll see. Well, you never know what tomorrow brings with this COVID situation.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're getting towards the end. There's the lights at the end of the tunnel, but who knows how long that tunnel is, right? So hopefully we get towards the end of this, and it'd be great to see you guys over there. Before we move on to the next, I guess, kind of topic, we'll just go to a quick commercial break here at ASTV.
Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
Welcome back, everyone, to this week's edition of the AAA Show. Trevor Lakness here with me, hockey trainer, co-owner of TS Hockey Training. Before the break, we were just talking kind of how things came to be in the COVID situation, and his experiences with working with the men's and women's Iranian national hockey teams. So that was exciting to listen to. Outside of Iran, what are some of the places that you've been working with during COVID?
Well, during COVID, it really, I mean, this year was great. It probably will be the busiest year we could have because, you know, we only get, you know, May, June, July, and August with players kind of really working on their skill. And then once players, especially the high-end ones, go with their teams, we see them less basically from September until they come back in April-ish. But so this year was really good because a lot of the WHL players weren't able to play until just recently. And a lot of the AAA guys, Bantam AA, and we even got to work with some pro hockey players that were held back from Europe until they started going into their bubble. So this was a great year for many different players. It's always, as a development guy, and I really study and pay attention to what, you know, people around the world are doing, or different associations, even not saying one's good or bad. You know, there's a huge difference between mentality between even Regina and Saskatoon and Winnipeg and Brandon. And you know, you talked about Belarus and those countries where they have less minor hockey players than Saskatchewan. And then that doesn't even include the GTA. So you think it's always interesting to pay attention. So it was always a dream of mine to do a social experiment where kids take 1 year off hockey and just focus on development. So COVID was the one that brought that, not Hockey Canada or anything. So there was a lot of, when hockey gets going back again, we're going to see a huge increase in high-end skill. because there was, you know, a lot of players use this time to really work on the things that they were lacking. A lot of people think, oh, well, there hasn't been games for a year. Well, you know, majority of your listeners are probably AAA. You guys have been playing hockey for 10, 15 years. You know, some guys go through an ankle injury or a shoulder injury where they miss a year. They come back and they play the WHL and they're fine. So it's not a loss. So this year, where players were able to almost spend 10 solid months in Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta on skill, it's going to be unbelievable when we get back. We're going to see some high-end talent.
Yeah, I know. I've had quite a few players on my show during COVID here, and well, the show was launched during COVID, so I haven't really had any even live games to talk about. It's all been talking about training and preparation, and you know, initially guys were talking about you know, they're still doing a lot of teamwork, and then COVID got a little worse, and they were put into the individual cohorts, and you know, maximum I think it was 8 in Saskatchewan, and yeah, they really stress working on the individual stuff that they need to get better at. And you know, some are lucky enough to go off the WHL or Alberta Junior Hockey because they're allowed to go this year. So it'll be interesting to see, like you said, how big a step some of these players can take next year, and I think it's gonna be great for the game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and it's going to be a tough year. Like, so right now, what I'm seeing with AAA, especially the 15-year-olds. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to say it how it is, how I believe it. Scouts might disagree, or GMs. We are going to get a bantam draft coming up in December, which I think some players that might not have got drafted. I actually want to take a perfect example of the draft being later. I've talked to one WHL scout, or WHL assistant coach, and he said he feels the bantam draft is going to be more accurate than ever this year because all kids seem to grow. Oh, sorry.
Oh, hold on. You're hello?
Hello?
Yeah, we're there. Perfect.
Yeah. So I was just so the bantam draft, it's going to be good and bad because there's going to be some kids fall through the cracks, maybe not get put on the proper midget AAA team or AA team, because you are who your numbers are, unfortunately. So a lot of people, like if you were a Sal Marumba that got 100 and some points, you got a clear path to AAA. You know, a lot of kids don't get a lot of points in first year bantam, so you're going to struggle showing who you are because you are what your numbers are, the unfortunate part. But you had a guest on last week, Noah Adamston, who I met one time actually at the NHL Classic game. Him and my kid, through his grandma, got to skate with Patrick Liney and all the Jets after the practice. And that guy was just this little pudgy kid. And a few months later, I find out he gets drafted. And now, throughout the summer, I met him this summer doing a skills thing. And this guy's over 6'1". I don't know his exact weight and everything. But there's a guy that got drafted in the 7th round. He's probably going to go in the 3rd round if the draft could redo. So the problem is with this year, though, it's going to be tough. I think there's going to be some kids fall through the crack, unfortunately. And I think there's going to be some kids make AAA that, you know, might have looked good in skills throughout the year that some coach recognized. So there's going to be some kids make AAA that are made it without any games. And it'll be interesting. I believe there could be a divide.
Yeah, and one thing I want to kind of get your opinion on is, you know, often the WHL draft, you see teams at the start into that 6th, 7th round, teams start passing. Do you think with the way the draft is falling out this year, you know, a lot of those teams are going to utilize those later round picks to take shots on kids just because the process was delayed so long, and you just know that there's going to be guys that fall?
Well, I think there's still some preliminary talks. I mean, I think the number one reason teams don't take teams after the 7th round is just because they don't have enough room with their 50-man, and they don't want to take up a roster spot on their 50-man with a 8th, 10th rounder if they don't have to. But I think, like take a Jordan Eberle, for example. He had numbers in Adam and Pee Wee that were in the hundreds of points a year. He kind of had a little dip in Bantam. So the scouts, the Regina Pats drafted him in the 7th round, 8th round, whenever he got drafted, because they kind of knew his numbers of what things. So I agree with you on that. I think there'll be a lot of area scouts or team areas like Regina, Winnipeg might take a guy they know of in the rounds and going off maybe Pee Wee numbers or older numbers. I think when you reevaluate this draft in 5 years from now, there will be a lot of kids that were drafted in the later rounds that you'll say, how did he get drafted in the 8th round? I think it'll be interesting that way.
Yeah. Do you think it'll be more than normal? I know there's a fair bit even now that I just kind of, when I'm doing research on some of these kids for my shows, and I know there's some highly talented kids that, they're in that 4th round or later. You think there'll be more with the current situation?
Yeah, I do. I do believe that. I think there's WHL is talking about bumping that 50 man up a little bit for that reason. So I think that, and there might be some kids in midget AA. I mean, I have huge respect for midget AA in Saskatchewan, but I think one thing that you'll see is some kids that will be a last cut on AAA might be a really good kid on a not so good AA team, and he might get overseen, that, he's just good because he's on a bad team. So guys like that might get either trick the scouts, or a scout will take a chance on a guy like that.
Yeah, that's fair. With what do you think the AA level, like AA league's going to be like next year? In general, with some guys are gonna, like you said, who'd normally be in AAA, they're gonna get that last cut and trickle down to some of these AA teams. Sorry.
Well, I think it's going to be midget AA is going to be really good, because I think a lot of hockey players think with that missed year, they got a lot to prove. You got basically to prove your 2 years of worth to show in 1 year. And I think midget AA, with everybody training a little bit more, everyone spending more time in the gym, I think it's midget AA next year is going to be the greatest we've seen in years. Just because, there's going to be, I think also I'm seeing a few teams signing a lot of 15-year-olds for next year. But one thing I'm seeing is a lot of grade 11 and 12s, which would be the 16 and 17-year-olds, getting picked, and a lot of interest in them going to camps. So I think we even might see more 16 and 17-year-olds in the league than normal, and more 15-year-olds going to AA. But one thing I'm seeing a lot, I want to tell your viewers, I helped coach, I can't remember, I'm terrible with years and pronunciation of names. I helped out Brad Haroff just as a video coach 9-10 years ago for the Pat Canadians in Regina here. And they went to the national final. They had guys like Owen Sillinger, Riley Woods. Owen's playing Division I college. Riley's playing pro in the East Coast. Tyler Adams, former WHLers, Seattle WHL champion. I took a list of that. The top 11 scorers on that team that went to a national championship all played AA as their first year, including Riley Woods, who's playing pro, including Owen Sillinger, who's playing Division I, made it to the final 8. It's not the end of the world if you make AA as a 15-year-old. Like everyone thinks, you're not, you are where you are, but it is a huge area for development. And I know we'd all love to have that AAA code on, but to get, especially a draft year, I would rather be playing the power play, penalty kill, getting a lot of 5-on-5 situations than going to a midget AAA team where I'll never get power play time, I'll never get penalty kill time, and I will be battling on the 4th line. So I just want the kids watching this show that are wondering which way to go. There's no shame, and some of the greatest players I can name a huge list in Regina. Graham Black was another. Well, he was one of the top scorers. Yeah, he was one of the Graham Black played AA. So kids, there's zero shame in playing midget AA. It's just 1 year on the big blimp, and there's a huge opportunity for you to develop as a 15-year-old in AA.
Yeah, you make an excellent point there. I know if any of my viewers watch the episode, is probably over a month or so now back, and I had Cash Arnson. He's the captain of the current Legionnaires, and he played his first year AA, and he ended up going first overall to the Laurent Ice Wolves of the SJHL. And that's one thing he really stressed, is he didn't think that he would have been in the situation he is now if he didn't have played that first year AA, because he's just able to hone in so much of his skills and grow as a player. And they ended up, I think they won the AA championship that year. So like you said, there's no shame in having a year AA. Any hockey like that is good hockey to be playing, and just continue to work hard and grow yourself as a player. One thing I want to kind of go back to, you mentioned about the 17 and 18-year-olds in AAA. I know in Alberta especially, there was a lot of kids picked up for this season for the AJHL. Just moving on. Some of the veteran players just didn't want to wait for COVID to kind of resolve itself, and they picked up some younger players to field their team. But here in Saskatchewan, how many of those, I guess next year it would be 04s, will be sticking around, and how do you think coaches will mitigate that delegation to how many 04s they keep?
Well, I'd like to think however they do it, they pick the best players on the team, but it'll be, I think if you look at any AAA roster or AA roster next year in Saskatchewan, the big thing is when you look at the list of where they're from, I think there's going to be people from all over the province on every roster, besides maybe the Saskatoons and Reginas where they have bigger population. But if you take an Estevan, Yorkton roster, you're going to have people from all over the province on those rosters, the smaller markets. I think the AA people will think, because I missed a year, they might put themselves in a position that, rather than thinking, one more year of development. Because if you're a grade 10 and you thought you could have made that AAA team or were the last cut, now you're in grade 11 next year. I think there'll be a lot of guys being desperate to play AAA than they wouldn't have with this basically a year missed, right? So if you were the last cut on the Pat Canadians contacts, whatever, you didn't get that AP time that you might have last year to play in grade 11. So I think a lot of, like you're talking Alberta there, I think Saskatchewan, I think a lot of people are going to spread out throughout the province in the Swift Currents, the Moose Jaws on the rosters when you see that.
Think it'll be a more balanced league with given that, or do you think there'll still be a bit of a top heavy in some of those bigger markets?
That's a good question. That's why we play the games to find out.
Yeah.
But that's tough to say because who's coming, who's going. Like with the WHL picking up a lot of the first rounders, we won't see. Sometimes 15-year-olds don't pan out when they go to the WHL. Well, now they got 20-some games as the first rounders. So I doubt we'll see many first rounders back as we used to because they got more development time at that level. So that's a good question. I think, depends where the stars are of the years. Saskatoon's got some very high-end guys up there. I predict them being very good with the 15-year-olds that they're going to have next year. But I think what will happen is the teams that had a few years of maybe downturn with all the players coming from Saskatoon, Regina, going to Estevan, Yorkton, I think it'll be more of a balanced. I don't think we'll see 7-2 losses, maybe. I think anybody can beat anybody any night. I'm hoping next year. I really do believe that will happen.
Yeah, I personally kind of think if there is kind of one thing to take away from COVID, is that this could kind of essentially help that Warman and Estevan team to was a relocation, but essentially an expansion team, right? And this might help them play a little more of a catch up and get more caught up with some of those teams that were already well established. So I'm excited to see how they develop for next year, and we didn't really get to see too much of them, but I think it'll be really exciting to see, like you said, probably not as many 7-2 losses or 7-2 wins, maybe a couple of more upsets and a little closer games. So before we
but it is like the AAA in Saskatchewan. I mean, Pat Canadians have had 10 years of good runs. They struggled in the 90s. They had a few national teams in the 90s, but in the early 2000s, they had some weaker teams. PA was winning national championships. Yorkton's had very competitive teams over the years, and contacts, so it's just not the powerhouses to run the league every year. There are dynasties. We haven't heard PA at the national stage in 10 years, but they've been there lots. Pat Canadians, contacts. So, I mean, that the best thing about AAA in Saskatchewan compared to Ontario is anybody has a chance of winning. Like, not anybody, but there are, like we were talking earlier about World Juniors, there are 3 teams that can legitimately win the province and go for a national run.
Yeah, and that's with Saskatchewan being a free-for-all, essentially. I think that plays a big part into the talent distribution. And, some people will argue that, well, we should go to zones to give the local guys a little more of a chance. But I think this creates a more competitive league. And like you said, the AA league is just as good. And there's AA teams all over the province that can help get some of those local guys developing. So, it just kind of comes and goes, and who's the big dog in the league, and there's nothing wrong with that. But before we get to more, I'll go to another quick commercial break, and we'll be back in a second. Everyone to the AAA show. Trevor Lakness here with me. Talked lots about so far the AAA league in Saskatchewan and how COVID's impacted it, and also a little about his work with the Iranian hockey team earlier on. And I guess, Trevor, next thing I want to ask you is kind of who are some of the guys that you've worked with, and what you saw early on in them, and how their skills have developed since you worked with them.
Well, my first batch of guys was kind of like, a lot of former WHL, AAA guys in Saskatchewan. I think, I had the privilege of working with, the Shea Hirokos, Tyson Predichucks, Graham Blacks. I guess I didn't get to work with them as much as some of the Regina kids, but when I lived in PA, I got the opportunity to work with Alex Forsberg. He went first overall. And then currently, there's a lot of, had the great opportunity of working with Sal Marumba lately before he went up to the WHL. A lot of WHL guys before they went. This summer, we're working with Noah Edmiston, a lot of other guys in the Regina area. The biggest thing, so it's kind of weird because everybody kind of reminds me, the kids in AAA always remind me of somebody I've worked with over the last 15 years. And scouts always say, oh, this guy's so good, this guy's so good. And you watch him in the gym and you think, well, he's not working hard. And that player doesn't really become anything. And then there's the next guy that you're fighting to scouts and agents and say, come on, take this guy. He works so hard. And, oh, well, no. And then he eventually becomes a player. I could think of a Regina boy that was one of the last cuts on the Pat Canadians. Never got drafted. JC Lapon, for if any of you guys know, he played a little bit with Winnipeg Jets. He's in KHL right now. There was a guy that worked his butt off. Like, just nobody else worked harder than him. Never got drafted. Ended up playing for Kamloops Blazers. Became one of the leading scorers of the league. Goes on to play Team Canada in the NHL. So the biggest thing with, there's so many kids that they don't get drafted to the bathroom drafts, so they think, oh, my hockey career is done. I'm not saying the further you go and the harder you work, you're guaranteed to make it. But a lot of people drop off. So if you keep working, you got a shot. And the other thing I see where people, they might have been a star in Bantam AA or AAA, and they go to the WHL or Junior A, and they just become average. The number one thing I recommend all you AAA guys listening is don't be average. And that starts off at the gym. I just on the shooting aspect of it, anytime I've ran into a WHLer over the 15 years I've done this, I say to them, how many shots a day did you do as a kid? And the average answer, the most will say 200. Well, now sometimes I'll get a guy, a pro guy, WHLer I'll work with on ice or something, and I'll say to them, how many times a day did you shoot as a kid or in summer? About 300 to 500. And see, that's what it takes. And the best story I have is Kobe Bryant. When he first came into the NBA, he realized, like, okay, all the players, they work out in the morning and they work out in the afternoon. For him to be one of the best players in the world, he had to add a third workout in. So he woke up at 4 or 5 in the morning, and he thought, my mentality is, I'm going to be the best because I'm working out more than everybody else. So by the time that the other players realized you got to work out 6 hours a day, he's already thousands of hours ahead in his training. So if you're just mediocre on your AAA team and your AA team or things, keep doing what you're doing and you're going to keep being mediocre. Now, if you want to be better than all your friends, you might have friends that are going to the gym 3 times a week and you're doing a power skating. You got to do more. It's simple. You got to do more than the next guy, and you got to want it. The other thing is, hockey training shouldn't be a job for you. If you're, I got to go to power skate, I got to go to the gym, that burnout fatigue, I don't even like that word, because my greatest example is you'll never hear Tom Brady or Sidney Crosby get sick of their sport, right? They spend thousands of hours a year. Sidney Crosby spends more time on his backhand passing than most people do on their passing in a week than most players do in a year. So Connor Bedard's the best example. I heard, it's not confirmed yet, but I'll find out. I heard back when he was a kid, he shot between 1,000 and 1,500 shots a day. So if you do that for 5 years, he is hundreds of thousands of shots more than the 20-year-olds have taken in his lifetime. So he shot hundreds of thousands more pucks. So everyone says, well, how does he have the best shot at 15 when there's 20-year-olds? Because he practiced that much harder than the average guy. Yes, he might have some genetics and, some, work ethic, but that helps for sure. But it's his practice that got him that quick release that he has.
Yeah, and you make a very good point there. Working out and training you shouldn't be upset or frustrated to have to do that. That's what's going to get you to the next level. Jumping around here. How many kids do you typically take on in a year?
Well, in summertime between WHL Pro and Bantam AA, I'll work with 40 guys hard, make a complete program for them and kind of go through summer with whatever their goal is or like the program we have. And a lot of the guys too, it's like, I'm just not necessarily, maybe your shot isn't where it should be. So some guys, we have a 2-3 year plan for his shot. How we can have the best shot when he's in Junior A. because he might not be there now. So it's not like you work with me one time, you're going to get a better shot. It takes practice. And then and then I kind of spread it out with our, a few other clients we have that I work with year round that live in Regina area. And then I go out and I have a lot of AAA teams, spring teams bring me in throughout the summer. And then I'm going to a few other cities to just work with some hockey shooting.
Do you put a cap on players, or do you have a limit to how many guys you do every year? It kind of varies.
Well, it varies with what's going on and who's in Regina area. I have been going up to Saskatoon a little bit to the ice box, but it's when you're kind of in the summertime, you kind of you got a batch of elite guys, and you kind of want to maintain. You don't want to get too number, or you won't be able to get that individual focus that I want to get on them.
If you don't mind, what are some of the packages you offer, and just kind of walk me through that, and what kids can expect if they want to jump on with you?
So I partnered up like the TS and hockey, so we're kind of a one-stop shop. So with our guys, our typical packages, we'll hit the ice about once a week. We'll do about 2 one-on-one trainings, 2 one-on-one trainings a month, and then Shay is the one that works with them in the gym. And then some players, I work with some guys before they went to the WHL or pros. I was working with them every day for 15 days straight. So I try to lay it out, the different packages. Some guys obviously work with me way more than others, but it's a lot on goal oriented. If you just come to me and say, hey, I want a better shot, well, what's your goal? It starts off with a goal and where you want to be. If it's your draft year for the NHL, or I got a lot of Bantam AA kids trying to step up for the WHL draft, they all got different types of goals, and they're all in different places in their careers.
What would you say the biggest advocate that you can make to why or how you can help them reach their goals, I guess? What would you say in that department?
Well, I got the experience, and I pick a lot of guys' brains around North America. I'm always picking Darryl Belfry's brain. If whatever you can get out of him is bonus. There's some guys in Ontario I call lots, but it's just the experience of, seeing the past failures and successes of my previous players, and then just how far technology we are, like how much video we do, breakdown. I think about even, it's hockey shooting can be overwhelming, but yet how much easier it is to train a guy today than it was 10 years ago without the iPads and the cameras. Or if we did have cameras, we had the big cameras on our shoulders, the VCR tapes. So now a guy shoots 5 pucks, I can turn around the iPad and show him what he looked like right then and there. That's been key. And basically it's just, I push. It's like we have fun days and all that, but you hire me to get you a better shot. That's what I'm going to push you for.
How do you get guys to keep their motivation virtually? I know it's a lot easier to push a guy in person, but when you're dealing in the virtual world, what are some key things that you do that you can push them through a Zoom meeting or a Zoom call or a video, I guess?
Well, that's a good question, because, the way it can even be the way you got your camera set up, that I'm not there, even when that is the challenge that we've kind of accepted. We could see tardiness, a guy getting tired or maybe not pushing himself on that. But when you're one-on-one and you're seeing a guy, his eyes rolling or getting frustrated with himself, you can tell a lot by a guy's body posture. When we're on a Zoom and we see a guy on our TV on a little inch, you miss out on that. But not on saying that the big things, hockey shooting comes from the legs and the elbow up and the stick flex. So we do get to see the big things on that. But you're right. That's the one disadvantage of the Zoom, is you're not getting that emotion of the moment that you're seeing. You're not, when the guy walks away from the camera, you don't know if he went to go punch a wall or went for a drink of water, right? So when you're there within, I'll say social distancely, the 2 meters, it's way easier to understand the guy's feeling, and that goes a long way.
How much of your coaching would you say is the mental aspect of it?
Well, for goal scoring, I had the great opportunity of working for Puckmasters years ago, and I worked under, he was actually a goalie guru, Pete Fry. He's all about mental mindset. So I learned, and he still does it. He's a big name in the goalie world. He works with a lot of NHLers, and I've stayed in touch with him. Hockey shooting is all, I can think of 2 WHL guys I do work with. They're on a big scoreless streak. And I believe it's all mental. They're getting the shots. The goalies are robbing them. But on the training side, it's mental is everything, you know. And I say there's 2 hockey players in the world. One that takes the puck and rips it at the net as hard as he can and hopes for the best. And then there's one guy, the Austin Matthews, the Ovechkins of the world, that before they even shoot it, they see the puck in the net. So when they score, it's not a surprise like the other people. And that goes right from the NHL to the thing. And the mental aspect of it is, guys, when you're trying out for these AAA teams, the one thing is guys come in and, what are you trying out for? What are you working for? Oh, I'm trying out for Estevan, Pat Canadians, Yorkton. I'm trying, you know. Well, try is the worst word in the dictionary, because, you know, I can work hard this summer, and if I don't, I can try to make Yorkton, and if I don't, oh well, I tried. You got to have Tom Brady mindset. Tom Brady doesn't think I'm going to go into the season and try to win a Super Bowl. Goes into that season believing he's going to win a Super Bowl. And so it all comes with, if you don't have the right mindset and determination, you're just going through the motions. So I encourage players, and I'm not certified university degree in mental motivation, but there's so many people, you know, I pride myself in a shooting coach. I can help you out the mental mindset, but a community builds a hockey player. Community builds anybody. If it's a businessman, if it's a nurse, you know, as a hockey player, reach out, go to Tony Robbins, just type in mindsets on Instagram. You'll find a coach you like. And I believe every player doesn't have to have a personal mind coach, but have a person on Instagram you follow daily for the motivation quotes or whatever. And I just believe that is, if you don't have that mindset and belief in yourself, you're way far behind a lot of hockey players, because you get the cap, there's going to be some guy not as good as you, not as skilled as you, and he's going to make it over because he wanted it more.
Yeah, and I think the mental game is one of those things that, like you mentioned, is becoming a crucial part of the game. And if you lose your head, it can go a long way into whether it's cracking the squad or, you know, even losing it on the ice. You know, it could result in you being benched or suspensions. Even, you know, some guys, when they lose their mind, they result to the dirty side of the game. And I think what you said there about finding a guy to follow on social media, even just doing that, can go a long ways.
Yeah, and I believe the mental mindset in hockey, I mean, visualization, you heard back when I was a kid in high school, you heard about the odd player that did visualizations and mental mindset stuff, and you just thought, oh, okay. And then in the last 10 years, majority of goalies are doing it. Goalies have been ahead of hockey players for years. And now, just in the last 5, you're seeing more and more hockey players getting into that mental mindset. Because, I mean, the other thing, it is what it is. And I'm going to put this brunt to your players. You are what your stats are. There's no, oh, I hit 10 posts this year and I only scored 2 goals. Posts aren't on the score sheet. And then scouts can look at, oh, look at this guy. He went through 10 games without scoring a goal. And then the next 5 games, what's going on with this guy? They want it's crazy what scouts look for. They're looking for consistency and everything. And if you get in that bad mindset where you're not scoring after 3 games and you go another 4 games, how are you going to recover in the next 4 games? So, take it one shift at a time, take it one workout at a time, small goals. A lot of players, what's your goal? I want to make a 15-year-old kid, a 14-year-old kid will say to me, I'll say, what's your goal? And they'll say, well, I want to make the NHL. Well, that's great, but that's a long route to get there. What's your goal? Today, your viewers, it's May 1st, or, we're coming up to May 1st. What's your goal for next year? If you want to play Pat Canadians or Yorkton or Estevan, what's it going to take for you to make that team, right? And now there's a path to making the Edmonton Oilers, Toronto Maple Leafs, whoever you want to play for, but it's one step at a time. And a lot of players get set in that, I have to make the WHL. Well, you're in Bantam AA, you got to make that Bantam AA team first, right? So it's small steps at a time, and sometimes just day by day.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I know when I was little, if I would have maybe thought of that process, maybe I would have developed a little better. But you see a lot of kids that they think too big, and then if they don't focus on the small things, then it probably delays their development.
No, absolutely. And the other thing is, it's so, as hockey parents and players, we get caught up so bad in the moment. So what? You had a bad game in North Battleford in January, right? Who cares? It's not the end of your career. How are you recover from it? What do you do next game, right? Everyone thinks of right now, it's the end. It's the end, right? I didn't get drafted. It's just looking back. When you look back at your career when you're 25, and hopefully your viewers are playing longer than that, it's just that game in January where you played bad in North Battleford meant nothing in your hockey career, right? So it's just the old saying, one period, one shift at a time. We get consumed about what our friends are doing and where they're playing and I'm not playing, or who made the team and I didn't make the team. We worry about other people more than ourselves sometimes, and one little road bump, we think that's the end of our career, where there are many and not all your viewers might be thinking NHL. Some might be thinking, CIS hockey, go play for Babcock now. Some guys might be thinking SJHL or college. There's so many different paths to playing hockey for a long time in Europe or the NHL that one little road bump is not going to derail you. So just keep going.
Yeah, well, you hear that, folks. One shift at a time, keep them short, small goals, and go a long way in development. We're going to go to one last commercial break, and we'll be back here in a second. Welcome back, everyone, to this week's edition of the AAA Show. Lots of good information that's been talked about so far in the episode. It's been great to have you on, Trevor.
Thanks.
Just kind of want to go back more into some of your training stuff. Who are some of the guys that you've been working with in conjunction, whether it's off-ice trainers and, yoga people? What are some of the stuff that you try and incorporate into your guys' program?
Well, we try to be a one-stop shop, and with the connections, we have power skating people we push off, or they're on there. Brent Bobix, he's a really good power skating instructor in Southern Saskatchewan. There's another guy, Newark, Regina, Dave Schultz, good power skating, and we do have some yoga. We have this one girl that. Addison Verreau, she's a really good yoga instructor for hockey movements. That's the other thing. Yoga's starting to get into hockey big time. I remember 10 years ago when I heard the Pats were starting to do yoga. I thought, what the heck? Now yoga is a big part of hockey, but now you want to be hockey Pacific, so that's good things. And then Shay's our personal trainer. But the whole thing of that is, is a lot of people on that, you say throwing all those trainers at, I think a lot of people try to dabble in a little bit of this and a little bit of this, and that's fine. But I'm a more thing is make a goal and go into it. If it's just what if you're just going to do one yoga in the summertime to say you did it, it's not going to do anything for you. So, create a path. And then another big mistake I see guys making that, have a whole community of people behind me is they just do a little bit of each thing and they don't become master of anything, if you know what I'm saying. You got to create a plan what's good for you as a well-rounded hockey player. And and yoga is not for everybody. And there's different types of, the CrossFits, heavy bodies. Some people have nutritionists, and the other thing about nutritionists, there's a lot of different theories out there. I'm the last guy to talk to about this, but I think before you get wild, talk to your coaches and your trainers on your teams too to see if it's good, because teams don't like you. If you're Tom Brady, you can go on your own diets and everything as long as you keep winning, but some people don't go on the right path, I feel. And another big thing is when your summer workout, rather than just signing up to me and Shay or whichever gym you go to, if you're whatever part of the province you're from, the number one thing I see guys don't know what. So your exit meetings, which should have all happened now, or if you didn't have a good one, ask your coach, what do I got to do? Because the coach, a AAA coach, majority of your listeners are AAA. A AAA coach doesn't want you back next year. As much as they do want you back as they could win the team, it is great for a AAA team when the guy makes the SJHL or WHL, right? So you ask your coach, hey, coach, what's prevented me from making the WHL? What's prevented me from getting a Division I scholarship, going to SJHL? They'll tell you, you might need to gain 10 pounds. You might need to gain 15 pounds. A lot of guys go into summer training just like, yeah, I'm going to go to this trainer, eat what he tells me, what happens, happens. You should be checking halfway through the summer. Is my shot getting better? Am I gaining weight? Am I losing weight? Maybe I have to lose weight. But you got to keep track of what is good for you for next season too.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And are there any, small niches in training that a lot of people don't really tend to go to that you would recommend?
Well, it's it's all depending on, I know some guys looking for strength. They're doing the CrossFit. They're trying to bulk up. I mean, anything I hear now of a new training, it's nothing surprised me. One thing I really want to promote, and I'm looking the players into, is what my partner Shay does. He does the go-to-body movement. Now, if you guys all Google search this is more endurance, body, recoding your body so it's proper. Like as we're all sitting on our iPhones or Xboxes, you're reprogramming your body, losing your perfect postures that we've got when we were born. And so go-to body movement is a big one nowadays that I'm seeing players in the last 2 years that never went to it. If it's going to doctors, and another secret, I'll tell you things. If you want a quicker shot, boxing. So 15 years ago, I did a Derek Bugard fight camp. Derek Bugard trained with me a little bit, and we were getting Josh Harding in our center doing goalie camp, and we had Nick Schultz doing a camp for his kids, and Derek Bugard was in there, and we said, let's do a fight camp. That was my 15 minutes of fame. I was on every Sports Illustrated and all that. And we brought a boxing guy in, and that was just to learn how to defend yourself and beat up somebody. But boxing now is huge. I have not found a sport where you can learn quickness, you know, and body movement and where we get our power from. If it's a punch, if it's our shot, if it's a pass, and even skating. So a lot of people, you know, are taught, we're all Canadians. We grab a hockey stick at the age of 3 and skates, and we get taught the proper stride and all that. But I think a lot of people, when you understand why your body moves the way it does, or why you have back aches or shoulder aches, a lot of that learning about your body. So these type of trainers that teach body movement, that's, I'd say, probably the little hidden secret that more and more pro guys think. And when you know your body, a lot of even NHL guys don't know their body. They don't learn even about proper nutrition and all that until they get running out of energy, until they hit a roadblock. But when you can learn your whole body and the nutrients you need, not what the general population needs, I think you'll be better off for nutrition and body movement.
Yeah, the boxing is something I've noticed myself that's really taken off as well. And, you know, like you said, initially people kind of never thought much of it. And I'm seeing, like you mentioning it now, and a lot of more and more other guys who, you know, talk about other sports, not necessarily hockey, but mention that, you know, boxing, it has its benefits, and it's not just about throwing a punch, it's all the other stuff that comes with it. So I'm interested to see that, how you brought it up. And
see, the one thing, and now going to your shooters, going to your players, every one of you watching the show, there's no reason why you can't have the best shot on your team. Now, 20 years ago, to have the best shot on the team, you had to have that big slap shot that pounded the glass that everyone went, wow. Nowadays, you look at Connor Bedard and Austin Matthews and them, they don't have the hardest shot on their team. You even look at Connor Bedard highlights, when the goalie, when he shot at the net, the goalie just made a save with no rebound, nothing. It was nothing for him. But it's the release of these guys. And a lot of times, but one thing boxing can do is the brain is telling the hips how fast. So by you punching as fast as you can, you're now telling, the brain's telling your hips how fast they're capable of turning. So before, I give you a hockey stick and puck, you can't do that same training because you're thinking about the hockey stick and puck rather than how turning your hips. So if I have yet to find anything that teaches the body speed, and that's the other thing that's a misconception is nobody can, a lot of the speed, you are what you are. And that's the, you know, don't let anybody, you can do things to get faster and work better, but nobody can do training like Usain Bolt and become Usain Bolt. There's just certain people with those genetics and everything.
yeah, and that's a good point. And one thing I want to ask you, if you start getting towards the end of the show, is, you know, you see so much kids nowadays get so enwrapped in focusing on one sport. What is your thoughts on that? And just kind of, you know, people getting involved in other sports in the summer rather than just focusing on strictly hockey?
Well, the cold hard truth is 99% of the people don't make it. And if you're 23 years old and wanting to go play slow pitch with your friends and don't know how to throw a ball, it's going to be kind of embarrassing. So, you know, I read an article a few years ago that, sorry if there's any Hockey Canada people listening, I'm not bad-mouthing you, but they're kind of hypocritical in the same thing where Hockey Canada a few years ago said we encourage kids to play more sports, but then if you're in the Hockey Canada elite program, you're under the under 18s, and then you got to go to an under 19 tryout camp, and you know they're elites, they're playing year round. So if you're an elite, they're setting an example that you kind of have to play year round. But I don't. It's a great question, and there is no perfect answer for it. To be the best, you got to be doing, like I said earlier in the show, more than all your other people are doing. But I think there is huge value in playing another sport on body movement, on situations, and just experience. So if you happen to play baseball and you go make a provincial run and you came into some adversity, you knew how to overcome that, that can help you in another situation. So anytime, there's football team, you're learning different team concepts and camaraderie from different things. So there is huge benefit. I don't know what the right answer is. And again, the same, well, you don't want a kid to play hockey year round because you'll get burnt out. I seen a lot of elite people play nothing but hockey. They're in the NHL today. That's such a tough question that I don't know what the right answer for it is. But at the end of the day, I just say do what you love and learn and experience life. Like, if you have friends that are having a ton of fun playing lacrosse or soccer, go try it out. Because you might be, the other thing is, if your high school has football, try it out. You might be better at one of those sports than you are at hockey. And baseball is a big thing where guys have to make the decision. I know one kid that's making the decision between hockey, football, and baseball. He's good at all three, but he's getting to be that 16 where he's got to make a decision. So, he would have never known he's good at two other sports if he just would have played hockey or just football. So as long as they don't, all you AAA kids listening, it's tough to play football because I think majority of football kids get broken collarbones or concussions. Sorry for you football dads. You don't want to hurt yourself for the next sport either, but I just think the more life experiences a person can get and memories, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think you're mentioning football and concussions. I think that's the biggest sport that parents don't want their kids playing who potentially have a career in hockey because so much can go so wrong so quickly in football. And I played football in high school, and I've seen that firsthand. And I've seen a lot of good hockey players who played football who might not necessarily went on to play AAA or junior or whatever, but they got injured in football and they were never the same hockey player after that. So not the same with everyone, but I like your point of view on other sports and how they can contribute to your success going forward. Lots of good information that you provided us, and for any AAA players watching, just one last little tidbit that you'd like AAA players to know before I let you go. If you can sum it up quickly, what would it be?
Well, first off, congratulations. I mean, you're playing being in Saskatchewan. You're playing in one of the best leagues your age in Canada. It's Saskatchewan has a rich AAA history with the graduation program of the players. Like I told you, just that team in Regina produced 11 guys in junior A above our top 10 scorers, top 11 scorers. You have huge opportunity ahead for you. And I just want to say the biggest thing I've seen, I know I was 17 at the time, not playing at the level you guys are playing. It is so easy to take a summer off at 17 with the girlfriends and at the lake and dealing with friends that, are into the partying. But you are, I'm not your dad, so I don't want to yell at you, push you, but you are so much closer than so many other kids in the country that you have a chance to go somewhere. And there's so many of your friends that are playing AAA that aren't working hard. They might be there just because they're skilled or big body. You're at that age and you're at that league that you can write your own ticket of what you put in on it. And that's what I'm just saying. So I just never, the worst thing I see is a kid turned 21. I run into him at a Walmart or something, and he says to me, "Oh, if I just would have put a little bit more work into it, I think I could have done it." Well, it's too late now as he's playing senior hockey in Saskatchewan. If you don't be that guy running to me at Walmart and saying, "I wish I would have listened to you and put just that little bit more work into it," And if you want it and you're that close, sometimes you're going to have to miss sea-doing at the lake at uncle or grandma's house or mom and dad's cabin because you got to work out. So that's the number one thing I hope your viewers are that they can go where they want to from here. And having AAA on your resume going forward for junior A, it helps huge.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Actually, I want to get to one more point before I send you off. If any AAA players want to possibly get in touch with you to do some training, how do they do that?
Well, check us out on Instagram, TS Hockey Shooting there. Our website's just getting redeveloped here. Or our Facebook or social media, our guy will get back to you right away there. And, you know, if you're other in southern Saskatchewan or in an area, we'd love to train you. And I want to thank you very much for having me on your show. I know you have a few followers in this area all paying attention. And it's great for you promoting these young players too. Sometimes they just need that a little bit too.
Yeah, well, that's what we're here for here at Amateur Sports TV, is kind of a market that doesn't get enough voice. So I'm glad I can do that for AAA leagues across Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and hopefully I can bring some more up-to-date content in the fall with live games. But I want to thank you, Trevor, for joining me. Maybe have you on again sometime to talk training in the summer, possibly for a quick 15-minute segment or something. But thanks for joining me on short notice, and best of luck in the training.
Yeah, thank you guys. Good luck, all of you players.
All right, thank you. That was Trevor Lakness, trainer with TS Hockey Training. Does a lot of shooting training and lots of good input. If you're just joining the show now, we can re-see the show on amateursportstv.com or our ASTV Productions on Facebook. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you all next week.